Welcome. This video covers the installation of the ZCDWLR 2-Zone Comfort Control for model ZCDWLR-K1. The K1 kit includes a ZCDWLR 2-Zone Comfort Control, a DC3 wireless damper control, and a TS510W wired temperature sensor. It's important to note that the ZCDWLR and DC3 are shipped pre-linked with a unique ID and must be used in the same installation. The compatible plug-and-play dampers are sold separately and include models R80CJ round plug-and-play dampers and RT80CJ rectangular plug-and-play dampers. Each damper includes a 25-foot plug-and-play cable. Only the cables supplied with compatible dampers should be used. Longer length cables are available if needed. Let's look at a typical installation and how it works. A 24 VAC thermostat is installed and wires to the equipment. 2 modulating plug-and-play dampers are installed, one in the trunk feeding the upstairs zone and one in the trunk feeding the downstairs zone. The DC3 wireless damper control is installed near the equipment and wires to gas electric or heat pump equipment for 24 VAC power and to monitor the equipment for heating and cooling calls. The dampers connect to the damper control using the included plug-and-play cables. The TS510W temperature sensor is installed in the upstairs sleeping zone and wires to the DC3 damper control. The ZCDWLR 2-Zone Comfort Control is installed in the downstairs zone, is powered by 24 VAC by either wiring to the R and C terminals at the equipment or at the thermostat, and is compatible with any 24 VAC thermostat. Alternately, the comfort control can be installed in the upstairs zone and the sensor installed in the downstairs zone. The ZCDWLR and the DC3 damper control communicate wirelessly. Now let's see how it works. The ZCDWLR monitors the equipment for heating and cooling calls and monitors the downstairs temperature at its location and the upstairs temperature at the sensor. In this example, the system is in cooling. If the upstairs and downstairs temperatures differ by 2 degrees or more, the 2-zone control automatically distributes more cooling to the zone that needs it by fully opening one zone damper and partially closing the other zone damper 2% every 2 minutes, forcing more cooling to the zone that needs it, in this case the upstairs zone. The 2-zone comfort control dynamically adjusts the dampers to find the right distribution of heating or cooling to provide a balanced, uniformly comfortable home. First, let's look at the DC3 damper control installation. Remove the cover of the DC3 damper control by pressing the tabs on the top and bottom of the DC3 to release the cover. Mount the DC3 near the equipment using the provided hardware on a wall, stud, or roof truss. Do not install on a metal surface or near 120 VAC lines, as this may interfere with the wireless communication. Use 18 or 20 gauge 4-conductor thermostat cable to connect the DC3 terminals to gas electric equipment terminals W, Y, R, and C, or to heat pump equipment terminals OB, Y, R, and C. Next is damper installation. Use common zone damper installation practices to install one damper in the trunk feeding the upstairs zone, Zone 2, and one damper in the trunk feeding the downstairs zone, Zone 1. For the Zone 1 damper, plug the cable into the in connector on the actuator, then plug the cable into the Zone 1 connector on the DC3. For the Zone 2 damper, plug the cable into the in connector on the actuator, then plug the cable into the Zone 2 connector on the DC3. If more than one damper is required to define a zone, additional dampers can be connected by plugging one end of the cable into the out connector on the first damper actuator and plugging the other end into the in connector on the second damper actuator. Now let's install the sensor. The TS510W temperature sensor is installed on an upstairs wall in Zone 2, about 5 feet off the floor, in a space that will best detect the temperature for the upstairs zone without being influenced by sunlight or excessive airflow. Alternately, the sensor can be installed on a downstairs wall. The sensor fits in a standard single-gang switch box or can be mounted directly to the wall using the hardware provided. Run 18 or 20 gauge 2-conductor thermostat cable from the DC3 damper control to the sensor location. At the DC3, connect the sensor wire to the two terminals marked TS. The wires are not polarized. The wiring at the DC3 is now complete. Attach the DC3 cover by lining up the plastic tabs and snapping into place. At the temperature sensor, connect the sensor wire by placing the wires between the brass washers and the printed circuit board. Hand tighten the screws. Attach the sensor to the wall or gang box, then attach the wall plate. And finally, the ZCDWLR control installation. The ZCDWLR is installed on a downstairs wall in Zone 1, usually near the thermostat, about 5 feet off the floor, in a space that will best detect the temperature for the downstairs zone without being influenced by sunlight or excessive airflow. Alternately, the ZCDWLR can be installed on an upstairs wall. Run 18 or 20 gauge 2-conductor thermostat cable from the control location to the thermostat subbase or the equipment. Remove the control from the subbase by pressing the tabs on the top and bottom to release the control. Attach the subbase to the wall using the hardware provided. Connect the R and C terminals on the ZCDWLR subbase to the R and C terminals on the thermostat subbase or to the R and C terminals at the equipment. Attach the ZCDWLR to the subbase by lining up the tabs and pins and snapping into place. Power up the equipment. When power is applied, the ZCDWLR display will be lit, the DC3 will display a green LED, and both dampers will display a green LED. The ZCDWLR defaults to gas-electric equipment. For heat pump equipment, access the installer options by pressing the menu and the comfort key at the same time and holding until the equipment type is displayed. Press the down key to select HP for heat pump. Press the menu key again to display the heat pump reversing valve type. O type is the default, or press the up key to select B type. The settings are saved when the backlight turns off. If the ZCDWLR is installed upstairs and the sensor installed downstairs, the ZCDWLR location needs to be set to Zone 2 by accessing the installer options. Press the menu and the comfort key at the same time and hold until the equipment type is displayed. Press and release the menu key to step through the options until the location option is displayed. Press the up key to set the location to Zone 2. The settings are saved when the backlight turns off. That completes installation. Now let's test it. With the cooling coil activated, press the comfort key to select Zone 1 comfort. Press the up key to increase airflow to 160% in Zone 1. You should measure or feel more airflow in Zone 1 and less in Zone 2. If okay, return the airflow to the default of 130% by pressing the down key to decrease airflow. If airflow is not as expected, check the cable connections at the dampers and DC3. At the dampers, you should observe a green LED on the Zone 1 damper, indicating that the damper is fully open, and an unlit LED on the Zone 2 damper, indicating that the damper is partially closed. Now test Zone 2 airflow. Press the comfort key to select Zone 2 comfort. Press the up key to increase airflow to 160% in Zone 2. You should measure or feel more airflow in Zone 2 and less in Zone 1. If okay, return the airflow to the default of 130% by pressing the down key. If airflow is not as expected, check the cable connections at the dampers and DC3. At the dampers, you should observe a green LED on the Zone 2 damper and an unlit LED on the Zone 1 damper. Return the control to Automatic Comfort Control by pressing the Comfort key to select Automatic Control. That wraps up the ZCDWLR 2-Zone Comfort Control installation. Additional resources are available at econtrolsusa.com, including manuals and a homeowner video. If you have any questions, please reach out.